Hello and good day, especially to our teacher, Ma'am Melody, and of course to you, my classmates. I am Elsie Amando, and my report is regarding the issues, concerns, and problems in the educational practices in the Philippines in public schools. So there are various aspects to consider in the current issues in the Philippine education. Number one, we have the current issues in the development of students. Number two, we have the challenge going forward in the changing nature of learners, teaching and learning. Number three, we have the development of physical facilities. Number four, we have the development of the curriculum. And lastly, we have the other issues, concerns, and problems regarding Philippine education. So let's proceed to the current issues regarding the development of pupils. Under this, we have the problem of rural education in the Philippines. The link between education, poverty alleviation, and economic development is critical and self-reinforcing. Education creates greater opportunities for the youth who go on to work decent jobs in the cities. About 80% of the Filipino poor live in the rural areas of the country. These are towns located deep in the mountains and in the rice fields. The population density in the rural parts of the country is low, and there is a corresponding deficiency in schools and classrooms. Public school is free, but families still cannot afford to send their children for a complicated network of reasons. Transportation is another big problem in the rural areas in the Philippines. Kids walk to 3 kilometers or more to and from school every day. They have to cross rivers, climb mountains with their book bags. The ones that can afford can take tricycles, jeepneys, and other transportation, but for some that is a luxury. Why? Because they don't have the money. I remember when I was in high school, I have to walk or climb two mountains. Pataas pa siya talaga. That is the reason why malaki siguro yung aking buto but that's okay. So I have to walk going to school and going back home kasi I can't afford the fare. Instead that using that for fare, I use that for buying my snacks. Kaya my high school life was really hard, but that's okay because I was able to pursue my studies and look at me now. Yes. So going back to our lesson, schools are sometimes too far for the most remote communities to practically access education. So the families can't afford to pay and the children are pulled from school. Next issue in the development of students, we have students lack interest or motivation. If students believe that their efforts are not likely to improve their performance, they will not be motivated to work hard. Additionally, students have beliefs about intelligence and learning that can affect their motivation. If they believe learning is generally fast and easy, they may lose motivation when they encounter challenges. Finally, if students attribute to their success to their innate talents than their efforts, they may not be motivated to work. So there are interventions suggested to cater this problem. First, we have identify an appropriate level of challenge. Next, create multiple opportunities for practice and feedback. Next, teach effective study strategies. Fourth, give students opportunities to reflect on their study strategies. And lastly, we have help students set realistic expectations. Third issue on the development of pupils, we have increasing dropout rates. Our schools right now are in a quandary on how to keep children in school with the increasing rate of dropouts. The functional literacy of the Filipinos is at its minimum, reflecting the sad state of education. There are rampant problems of child labor where children who are supposed to be in the classroom are working to help augment family income. Another is students lack motivation in interest. Let's proceed to the next issue on Philippine education. We have the challenge going forward in the changing nature of learners, teaching, and learning. Number one, we have increasing multiculturalism and diversity. An emphasis on increasing diversity requires an expanded focus on how we can foster learning environments in which diversity becomes one of the resources that stimulates learning, and on how to support faculty with students who are learning most effectively in different ways. Faculty developers identify the issue of multiculturalism as it relates to teaching and learning as one of the most important issues that needs to be addressed through faculty development services, but there was a great disparity between perceptions of the need to address these issues and the extent of relevant faculty development services being offered. Second, we have the challenges of the unprepared students. Students lacking academic preparedness also fail to do well in college for variety of reasons, such as lack of confidence, appropriate study behaviors, and skill in navigating an institution's bureaucracy. Our studies respondents similarly identify the underprepared student as one of the most important educational problems facing faculty and faculty development. As a faculty member embarks on a course and the unprepared students engages in the coursework, there is often a substantial mismatch between students and faculty expectations for academic work, especially in terms of devoted to study, outside of class, as well as faculty may be unprepared to recalibrate the course or teaching of it for students who may need additional support in college level reading, writing, and computational works. Number three, we have emphasizing learner-centered teaching. The need to engage in student-centered teaching was identified as one of the top three challenges confronting faculty members and the most important issue to address through faculty development services and activities. For many faculty members who are accustomed to lecturing while students listen, learner-centered teaching may require new and unfamiliar teaching skills and raise fears about lack of coverage of content or less control over assessment activities. Learner-centered teaching, however, allows students to do more of the learning task, such as organizing content or summarizing discussions, and encourages them to learn more from and with each other. Teachers, on the other hand, can do more of the design work and provide more frequent feedback to students. Number four, we have integrating technology into teaching and learning. The integration of technology into traditional teaching and learning setting is one of the top three challenges faced by some teachers. Schools have strong desire to focus on ways to use technology to help students to acquire content knowledge, develop problem-solving skills, participate in learning communities, and use of digital information sources. When considering technology in teaching and learning, one immediate issue faculty members face is what tools, PowerPoint, email, the internet, course management system might best serve their student learning goals. But the successful integration of technology is more complex, entailing the careful consideration of course content, the capabilities of various technology tools, students' access to and comfort with technology, and the instructor's view of his or her role in the teaching and learning process. Faculty development programs can offer the kinds of support and training required to thoughtfully integrate technology into the classroom. Number five, we have emphasizing assessment of student learning outcomes. Assessment is an ongoing process aimed at understanding and improving student learning. It involves deciding what students should be learning, making expectations for learning explicit, systematically gathering, analyzing students' assignment to determine what students actually are learning, and using the resulting evidence to decide what to do to improve learning. Assessing student learning outcome was perceived as one of the top three challenges facing faculty and their institutions, and important to address through faculty development. Let's proceed to the next issue in Philippine education, which is the current issues in education about the development of physical facilities. Number one, we have the lack of materials. Facilities is still hand to K-12 implementation. DepEd admits delay in delivery of materials. DepEd earlier said all the shortages in resources such as classroom, teacher items, textbooks, and chairs will be addressed by the end of 2013. But until now, I think some schools are still lacking of materials. Yes. Number two, we have Many public schools lack space for more classrooms. More than 700 crowded public schools need creative solutions to address classroom congestion as they lack land and space for new classrooms. DepEd is pursuing partnerships with the private sector and local governments to build even more classrooms. Why is it important to have more space in a classroom? Imagine when you have 50 to 60 students in a classroom, in a small classroom. Do you think they will be comfortable? Will they be able to move freely? Of course, no. That is why we have to address this problem so that the environment of our learners will be conducive for learning. Because if the classroom is not good, they affect the overall mood and productivity of the learners. And if the classroom is also the personalization of learning. So if the classroom is not conducive, learners cannot learn. Let's proceed to the current issues in education about development of curriculum. In connection with this is the globalization of education. This concern was a response to the ever-changing milieu in the international academic community where students must be globally competitive. Programs must be realigned to meet international standards. That is why the K-12 curriculum is the present world standard and would be too difficult, if not impossible, to compress it only for 10 years. Globally, the Philippines remains far behind, the only Asian country and one of the only 3 countries in the world providing only 10 years of basic education. Qualifications of teachers, facilities of the institutions, and instructional materials, and strategies must conform with international accreditation requirements. Inevitably, there are also downside implications resulting from this shift in educational system. With a constant change in the basic education curriculum, teachers need to upgrade themselves in order that they can properly implement these changes. Upgrading requires attendance to training, seminars, conferences, and even enrollment in graduate studies. So, with the present conditions of the teachers in the public schools, only very few can afford this unless government intervenes and provide upgrading activities for free. So, let's proceed to the issues regarding this matter. Number 1, we have the increase in student population. With the introduction of K-12, there will be an increase in student population, translating into a requirement for 20,000 to 28,000 additional classrooms for each additional year level, 40,000 to 56,000 classrooms for the 2 years of senior high school. Another pressing issue is the retrenchment of teaching and non-teaching college personnel. So, an estimated of 25,000 are being held at bay. Number 2, we have the teacher's professional and personal development. Even if the salary of the ordinary public school teacher had been standardized to be competitive, with the increasing economic crisis, it will still not be enough to afford them to attendance to seminars, trainings, and enrollment in graduate education. Hence, government support and intervention along this line is very much needed. Our teachers are professionals, and I believe their pre-service training had equipped them with the necessary skills to teach. Yet, with the advancement in science and technology, there is a great need for them to acquire competence in the use of this state-of-the-art equipment to enhance their teaching skills. The government must invest on our teachers because it is through them that we train and develop the minds of our future leaders. As they say, show me your schools and I will tell you what society you will have. Number 3, we have the curriculum is not responsive to the basic needs of the country. Our elementary pupils are required to have 9 to 10 subjects competing for time allocations. More time allotted for subjects like English, science, and mathematics with other subjects like health, music, values education, integrated into the Makabayan curriculum. Added to this are enrichment subjects like computer literacy, and this reflects the priorities of the government in educating our young people. It is a reality that a grade 1 pupil carries so many books to school, wondering whether all these materials are actually read in the classroom. So this overloaded curriculum results to difficulty in knowledge and skills absorption among our pupils. Number 4, we have tuition fees. Tuition costs for parents whose children have no public senior high school available should not hold these students hostage to the financial capabilities of the parents. That is not what we mean when we talk about public education as a constitutional right. And sadly, anytime large sums of government money are being passed out, we come face to face with the ubiquitous problems of potential corruptions. Lastly, we have the other issues and concerns regarding the education in our country. We have the politics in education. Politics in education is an issue that presently pervades educational system in our country. The government, specifically the legislators, is inept in formulating laws that can address the crisis in the educational system. A sad reality that is happening right now is the formulation of policies with the main purpose of making our educational system at par with those in other countries, but there are no concrete guidelines as to how these are to be implemented. Most educational experts are technocrats with no experience in the field. Yes, their programs are good, to say the least, but because of their lack of experience in actual classroom teaching, they fail to study the application of this program. An example of this is the Bridge program. So that is all for my report regarding the issues, concerns, and problems in the educational practices in the Philippines, specifically in public schools. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have learned something. Have a good day!